It's no longer waiting up the night of the election yet.
And then he was like, "It wasn't mine."
Is there a club?
You need a board?
Yeah. Oh, no, not I guess I need to put it back behind everybody, so.
Is that the laptop?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put it on that table.
This is a bellwether, you're saying.
Oh, look at you. That is a long cable.
Well, I have multiple lengths, but I just figured to get the longest one. I'm not afraid you're going to break it. I'm just saying I don't need to.
No, you know exactly where it goes. Pass it through there. On the same page.
On that table. So like if you need to sit there and do something else, it's even better. Are we doing? Do you need anything on the TV?
We need his computer.
Gotcha. Right.
Is that on?
Not yet.
Oh. I was just making sure that I was mirroring the right thing.
100%.
I said window or apps, so let's hope I mirrored the right thing.
Oh, it'll be, once you plug it in, this picks it up. It's a smart TV, so it picks it up and it's like, do you want to play this? It's ridiculously easy to do.
But my computer allows me to mirror the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing that I want them to see.
Yeah, of course. So we'll keep your porn on the other screen.
That's right. You know it.
Oh, Seabrook, that's what I was. Yes. I was the first one to play the license. I was the first one to
Gotta have a hobby.
Yep. Yep.
You don't know. You don't need to. It's just starting up.
Oh, okay.
Up front? Yeah. Oh, okay. One of those stools, no side seats. Oh, I was facing this way. Yeah, so
I would say candidates, it would be great to have you guys.
Choose to mirror or extend. So it's up to you.
How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Is there like a sign?
No.
How are you doing?
Yep. All we see is the candidate forum, the slides. That's all it is. Yep. Just the slides.
If I do that, it should just be the
Yeah.
slide.
Now it's just the slide, not
That's
even the
perfect.
slide.
That's exactly what I wanted. Except I don't want it to show the
Do full screen.
whatever. It's going to show the thing at the top, but whatever.
No, there's a full screen mode.
That is full screen.
That can't be.
should be a way to remove the banner.
Yeah.
Oh, you see the banner, but I don't see the banner.
It might be the ratio of the TV, so I wouldn't get too stressed by it. Oh no, because you can see the slides.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Can't wait to get this over with.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
Everybody's tired of the campaign. That's what I've heard. Not you.
Just bring the
Kelly
laptop
Russell.
around.
Hi, Joe.
I'm Joe Adkins.
Joe, Kelly Russell. Nice to meet you.
I'm saving a spot for Libby.
This would be fun.
I think that's full screen.
It is full screen.
For you.
I don't know why it's showing the.
The banner, yeah.
Exactly.
All right, just kind of give you all an overview. I think this is it. So we have two sets of mics. We have this mic for the people that are present. You can use it or not. You guys all have really good voices. But I'm also recording for the live stream.
Okay.
You can just leave that here. It's going to record you.
Okay.
By and large, if you are whispering as well, they'll hear it. Just so you know.
Hot mic.
So,
Hot mic.
but now when you are speaking specifically, when it's just on you, because what we're going to do is we're going to have some couple quick words, maybe 5-6 minutes tops. Then I'm going to lay off with some ground rules, which won't really matter because we don't have a large audience. And then I'm going to go slide by slide and introduce you all. So we're going to start at this list at the top.
Okay.
With Derek shows up, but at large first.
Libby just messaged me. She's
not
she's on her way.
So anybody who is late, we'll capture them at the end.
Okay.
Anybody who's confirmed not coming, I'll do a quick bio read for them, and then your guys are going to have questions from the audience. I have a list of 25 questions, one of the ground rules is everything's got to be local. So local conversations, you're not going to get any weird gotcha questions from me. That's not how I work. It'll also be more of a forum because the issue is that people don't know who you guys are and they don't have an opportunity to hear your voices unless they're reading it in the newspaper.
Right.
So I want to give them an opportunity to hear you guys talk
Okay.
with your own mouths before the election. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Any requests?
Do we have to give our own intro, or you're doing it?
I was gonna let you do it.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna read your bio and say.
Okay. I like how colorful you made the bio.
You liked it?
It was fun.
Landed. I was
I
trying.
didn't read everyone else's, but I was like,
The only issue was the last name.
yes, my last name is Hempelarani.
Yes.
Did you guys have
Not
any issues with anything I said in the bios or anything? Okay.
No.
Because I actually read about you.
Thank you. Do you have any little cup of water or something?
Yeah, let me get.
I'm chronically parched.
Yeah.
I talk too much, that's why.
What's up, Chris?
We've all
All right, you guys all ready to get started? Please have seats.
I mean, maybe people from their crowd. I don't know.
what the?
Oh no, my thing broke. For months, yes. I filed on the very last day of February.
I didn't find something.
Well, in March I was mostly like, what am I doing? And then April, what am I doing? And then May, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna get out there and do some stuff. Because I took my first headshots in March or February. It was right after.
I was worried that the Germans weren't going to make it home.
I'm saving a spot for Libby. Okay. Wait, are there enough spots?
When you're ready, when you have a seat,
Thank you. Wait, are there enough spots?
What do you want me to do?
Libby is coming.
We need 2 more chairs. We still need
I'll
2.
add another.
He said, well, I'm in line.
I was gonna.
Nobody's going behind you guys. All
Okay.
right, so I just gave this brief
Good to
over
see
there.
you.
I guess I'll have to give it again. So Tom, we have 2 mics at each table. One mic is recording for the live stream,
This
which
chair
on
is
that
like-
screen and on that screen. I mean, on these 2 videos.
Really tough.
This microphone is for here.
Microbrewery
So
chair.
this one you
It
can
is,
use if
yes.
you want to, so people can hear you
used to
better.
it.
You guys aren't going to need that. This one is so that you can be heard online. If you wear this one, or you carry it with you, we can hear you much more clearly. Whenever I introduce you guys and we read your bio,
Yes.
then you come to the front,
in and around
speak
These circles,
to the camera,
yes.
to the audience, and then
good to see
afterwards,
you
I see you
guys.
have a
the
more
audience
festive
will have
beverage
questions
than
for
the
you.
rest of
If
us.
they don't have questions,
you
I got
guys are
questions. Because I've gathered questions
you're
from
on
the
the
month
Oh, are we?
online.
Nobody's
I don't
paying.
think there's
Questions,
anything
comments,
against it, right?
So we go
There's
to the
not,
middle
but-
when you introduce.
We were just saying how much more fun.
David
it
tell you
would
I have a
I
hard
got
stop.
one.
I have a
Yeah.
meeting at
Yeah.
7 to 8 that I
Zoom
need
meeting.
to leave for.
We'll have you
You
go
have the best
first.
conversations. when you-
That's
yeah.
fine. And I will come
Thanks for
back.
telling me I didn't.
Or
Oh,
wine
good.
or whatever.
I said hello to you,
Joe Atkins.
Joe Dean Rose. Nice meeting you.
So we've got
And
Libby
we met before,
Yeah.
but good to see you, Caesar.
I feel like we're like in school. I'm like, I saved you a spot. I saved you a spot. Sit by me.
Then I'll put another one on this end. I know the mayor's coming too. All right.
It's almost it. It's almost it. I got it.
Testing, testing.
I mean,
Yeah, whenever you're looking for it to be over.
Is this thing on?
Is it on?
Testing, testing.
The battery is mid.
No, the battery's full. It's all
Why
3
is it
bars.
yellow?
That's the color of the display. It's not a high-tech thing, except for the fact that there's
Oh wait.
Bluetooth.
Oh, I just.
Turned it off? It's fine.
Hello, hello, hello.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I was
it's-
gonna turn it off until we were
You
ready.
can do that. So I'm going to show you both things. So you just, to turn it back on, you're just going to press the button on the bottom, the power button, until it turns on. It'll take a second or 2. All right?
The on button.
Put you in charge to turn it back on.
I can be in charge of a microphone.
Yeah, you just
Or a
press the
city.
button to turn it back on. Yeah, so it's not picking up the conversation.
Yeah, right.
So we're live? Cool.
We've got a couple more people coming in.
I just want to verify that the online audience can hear me. How many people do we have
The
total?
stragglers.
All right, we're good. Hi, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the Candidate Forum. Ha.
Oh, you got a mic?
Yeah.
Here comes Libby.
Oh, we have more people. Who's that?
That's Libby Taylor.
That is Libby. Okay, her hair is less blonde in real life.
It's red in real life.
Campaign platform speech.
Whatever you wish to say. This is opportunity. You have about 4 minutes. Yeah. No more than 4 minutes. Hey, buddy. All right, first of all,
I saved you a spot.
oh, wait a second. Libby's walking in. Miss Libby Taylor.
Hi, your hair. Oh my! I was at a Halloween party. Hi,
Teddy got one.
Libby. Hey, how are you?
Great to see you here, man. All right. So we have quite a few people. It looks like we don't have a huge turnout, but we do have a decent turnout. First of all, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming, and thank you for the candidates for coming as well as we get situated. I just want to say thanks for those of you who are tuning in. The elections right now are really important, especially in 2025, given all of the things that are happening. I have some members of the Forward Party, which is a new political organization that's getting started to Unified Voices. I'll let the people who have been a part of getting that started let you guys know about it. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you to the candidates for coming on from Democrats and Republicans in the city 2025 city race. We do have more candidates coming and going, and there's a lot of things happening, so please bear with us as we navigate all of this. This presentation from the candidates is an opportunity for you to hear them from their own mouths. It's an opportunity for you to ask questions as well. If you're online and you have questions, you're allowed to submit those questions. We will see them online and try to get to them at the end. If you all in the audience do not have questions, I have pre-prepared questions, so don't feel too much stress about not asking them. The purpose of this, or the tenor of this, is to be open, collaborative, relaxed. It's an opportunity for you guys to share your voices. It's an opportunity for the community to hear you before the elections come up in 2 weeks. And I just wanted to say thank you again. Now, with all that said, I want to pass the stage to PJ, who is our Maryland Forward Party Board Chair.
Thanks. I've been told to just keep this to 1 minute, so I will do that. There's a lot of great candidates that we want to hear from tonight. Want to thank you all for taking the time. I know this is a busy last couple weeks here. We really appreciate you carving out the time tonight. I'd like to thank our Frederick team for getting this all organized in such a short amount of time. And most importantly, I want to thank all of our audience members for joining us tonight too. You guys are the ones going to decide in a couple weeks here. And that is the most important thing. Having an engaged electorate is the most important thing we can be doing these days. So, perfect. Politics has unfortunately gotten to be this like weird, scary place, but it shouldn't be. It should never have to be that way. Unfortunately, our national politics has taken us down this like weird route, and it's gotten worse and worse and more divisive, but it shouldn't be that way. We should be able to come together in spaces like this, across the aisle, and be able to talk and work together. And I'm just grateful we're able to have this opportunity tonight. So thank you again, and we'll get started. I want to introduce our Maryland Frederick Chair, Matt Byers.
I don't need a microphone, except probably the people online would want to have a microphone to hear me. Nobody's ever called me quiet before, and they're not about to start now. So my name is Matt Byers. Thank you very much. I'm former chair of the Maryland Forward Party, and I'm currently the county lead for Frederick. And I just want to thank all of you for coming this evening. And I want to thank Mike from Frederick Social for inviting us into his home and for opening his home. Thank you very, very much. So very briefly, and I'm not going to take more than about 30 seconds, I want to tell you a little bit about Forward and what we're trying to do. We are about more conversation and less conflict. And that's what we're trying to get across to everybody. We're about diverse thinking, bottom-up solutions. And so we're trying to bring that here. 3 of our major initiatives are ranked choice voting, all candidate primaries, and independent redistricting commissions, all of which will change the tenor of politics if we get them passed and allow us to talk to each other more and not be so much in conflict. So that's about all I have to say is thank you so much for coming out tonight. And if you want to hear more about Frederick Forward or Maryland Forward, come see me afterwards. I'm happy to talk your ear off. So thank you. Teddy, yes. You're next, aren't you?
Okay, now let's get started. Wow, I've got a lot more people. So here's our agenda, everybody. First, we're going to, well, we have to make a little bit of adjustments because we have some folks that have some pending, have some commitments. So we're going to have Mr. Bream go first, who is running in District 3. And then we're going to, it just went off. And then we're going to have the at-large candidates. And then we're going to have the uncontested candidates. And then we're going to have the contested 3 and 4, except for Mr. Bream. And then finally the mayors at the end. Are there any questions about the flow? Outstanding. Once we get the, that's still not working. You need to change. All right, so with that, I would like to bring up Mr. Bream for a quick overview of himself.
Great, thank you, and please call me Peter. I'm the candidate for District 3, Democrat. And a couple things. First, pending arguments to the contrary, I think that ranked choice voting, open primaries, and independent districts to create legislative areas makes a lot of sense. So just thank you, Teddy, for teeing that up, or thank you, PJ, for teeing that up. I decided to run because of the city charter, and I applaud the City Charter Commission for putting it together. I think it does 2 things. Number one, it brings direct political accountability between the council member in each district and the neighbors and neighborhoods that they're representing. And so if there's a pothole, if there's a parking problem, if there's an accessory dwelling unit, if there's noise, if there's traffic, finally somebody has somebody to call who can then help follow up with city staff on getting something done. So that's one. The second that really has me enthused is that I believe that council is now in a better position to provide oversight about city programs. I think we're going to be in a better position to ask the city, why is money being spent the way it's being spent, or why is the money not being spent the way it's being spent? And on top of all that, why is this program not performing the way we wanted it to do? That has not, in my experience from the past year and a half that I've been attending council members, been a consistent objective of the council, and I think that with the colleagues who I look forward to serving with, that that's something we can do. From a macro standpoint, I think the city can do better in 3 areas in particular. The first is affordable housing, and I'm delighted that every candidate running in this election has said that affordable housing has got to be a priority, and I'm glad to be part of the solution to get that done. The second is I think we can do a better job of operating the city through a lens of sustainability. We've done some, we're getting better. I think we can do a lot more and a lot faster. And the third, and this has been an issue, especially in District 3, maybe in the other districts, but I've been knocking on doors in District 3, is a great concern about development that doesn't have the infrastructure considered up front. There are going to be 1,000 or so units coming online within a mile of Square Corner, and there hasn't been a lot of, in my opinion, and in the opinion of others who live in District 3, a lot of consideration given to parking and traffic and other infrastructure as it relates to that. So again, from a micro standpoint, it's all about constituent services, and it's all about making sure the city is doing the job that we have hired and paid our taxes to do. And the second, from a macro standpoint, is affordable housing, sustainability, and what I call intentional development. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter. All right, we got Peter out of the way, but I'm going to return to the slides. Go back 2 more slides, please. So 2 things to know about Forward events and Forward in general in this particular event. 1, we're going to get started, next slide, but we want to make sure that we are respectful of all the candidates and their opinions and what they've got going on, and the fact that they showed up. We also want to keep questions concise and locally relevant. And finally, we want to listen with curiosity, not judgment. Okay? So next slide. Now I want to introduce the 2025 Frederick at-Large City Council candidates. We have Derek Shackelford, and we also have Libby Taylor. Next slide, please. Mr. Derek Shackelford, your first up after this introduction. He's a citywide equity-first voice. He focuses on the everyday things that makes Frederick great: safe streets, accessible parks, arts, city services, public safety, housing, and transit. I've known Derek Shackelford for a long time. He was a basketball coach at Frederick High School when I went to Frederick High School and graduated in '02. So he's been around for a long time. So I would just like to welcome Derek Shackelford to the stage.
I could have wrote that better myself.
Yeah.
So I appreciate whoever put those hands up. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. My name is Derek Shackelford. I'm an at-large candidate for the City Council. As previously mentioned, I've served 2 terms previously. One of the reasons why I've ran this particular time because our charter has changed. And since it has changed, our executive and our legislative duties are clearly spelled out, and I think I offer the ability to have the experience and stability. The experience for newcomers who will be taking this elected office, so they'll have the opportunity to get their, when they come aboard, they'll be efficient in their legislative duties and won't have to be so much concerned about the operational aspects of being a council person. They can find their way around, and I offer that stability and that institutional knowledge that's necessary, and also being a good team partner. I think it's so important for a council person that you have to work in sync with each other. You cannot work in isolation, get legislation passed in isolation on your own. Specifically, some of the issues that I mentioned, I've been a big advocate for affordable housing, or what I call price-appropriate housing, because we use the word affordable. It encompasses so much, and then when we talk about affordable, what's affordable for a working family? What's affordable for a person who's serving in our local restaurants? What's affordable for a person who may drive our transit buses? So I like to look at it through the lens of what I call price-appropriate housing. But along with that, I know there's a lot of conversation, particularly around in the city of Frederick, around planning and development, which is so important. And for me, making the decisions of what kind of city we want to live in the next 25 years. Now, I'm careful about when we talk about development, because one of the questions I'll ask audiences is, or persons is, how long have you been here in the city? And then persons will raise their hand, they've been here 10 years or less. Well, we have to be careful when we talk about development, because If that was the case, some of us wouldn't be here making significant contributions to our community and to our city. I think it is important that we talk about our infrastructure. We talk about our zoning. It is important that we talk about our planning. Those are so important, but it's also important for us because Frederick is a great place to live. And Frederick being a great place to live, it offers so many attractions. And one of the things that we have, I say we have, is we have good problems. We talk to colleagues across our state or even across our region, there are people who are fleeing cities. We have a problem where people want to be attracted to our cities. So how do we plan developments? Also, how do we have different modes of transportation? What's different in downtown is we can't add any more streets. We have to talk about walkability, we have to talk about cycling. On other parts of our city, we have to talk about speed limits, we have to talk about traffic calming measures. But I think it's so important for us, particularly for me as a at-large candidate, to offer support for our district representatives. I'm been a big supporter of the way our charter is being framed in terms of having district representation. I think that offers an opportunity for our government to be more efficient, to be more responsive, and also for us to get things done, I don't want to use the word quicker, but get things done that will be more impactful. So I'm excited about the candidates. I'm excited about the conversation tonight. I think we'll look at our national politics. It can become so more divisive, but I think we look at our local politics. I think there's a lot more in common that we have together in which we can all work together because all of us are necessary and needed because all of us bring some great ideas. I learned this in this position that I may not have, and I don't have the best ideas. Oftentimes the best ideas come from persons who live in their respective communities who offer ideas and suggestions. It's my job to help move those things forward so that we have a community that's a great place to continue to live.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have Libby Taylor, Democrat, City Council at Large. She is a data-driven Medicaid analyst and former social worker focused on health equity and practical family-centered policy with frontline experience, thank you, with transparent solutions across public health, housing stability, neighborhood support. She wants to make Frederick fair, functional for working families and seniors. She focuses on health equity, housing, and child care. Hi, Libby.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I can. Just
Please,
if anyone
yes.
wants some water, there's, we have a plastic cup, there's water taps right here. Sorry.
No problem.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. Good to see familiar faces. I'm Libby Taylor, Democrat running for City Council at Large. Thank you for the bio. There's not a whole lot to add to that. That sounded really great, but I'm a Medicaid policy analyst for the Maryland Department of Health. I have a master's in public policy and my background is in social work. So I spent my career listening to people, identifying issues, and then doing something about it. In addition to that, I am a renter. I have a young child, I pay student loans, so I understand firsthand the affordability issue that we keep hearing about in Frederick, and I know a lot of you here also feel that. And when we talk about affordability, it's just not just about affordable housing. Like Councilmember Shackelford had said, it's for a wide variety of people. So for me, a renter, but I talk to people who've owned their homes for a long time, and they talk about property taxes. I have a lot of friends who have had to move to Hagerstown or West Virginia. This is a great place to live, but a lot of people don't really have an option. I had to move during the campaign. I think the week of the primary, I had to move. Like I said, I'm a renter, and the owner of my house, she was coming back. And I want Frederick to be a place where when we move, it's our choice to move and to have that stability. Also, I want us to focus and invest in neighborhoods outside of downtown. Downtown is a beautiful place and a lot of people come here because of that, but there are other places in the city. Traffic is also an issue, but if we make focal points in each neighborhood, less people will have to drive downtown. I also want to expand our access to childcare. And I decided to run because these aren't new issues, but I'm bringing new ideas. I want Frederick to try things. I want us to look at pilot programs. And also much of my job as a policy analyst is researching policy, but I work on the team to implement policy. That might be internal, state, or federal policy, and I think that's something that's really missing with legislators. Okay, here's what we're here's the policy that we're enacting, but how are we gonna actually do it? And most of my job's on the evaluation side. So is it working? If not, what are the barriers? What tweaks do we need to make? So I wanna put that into every policy that we enact, that evaluation piece. Is it meeting the intention of the policy? Okay, thank you.
Thank you much. All right. Next, we are going to the uncontested Frederick City Council districts. So we just heard from Peter already. Peter's not here. And so I will go ahead and start with Katie Nash. She is not present, but I'll do a bio for her anyway. All right. Katie Nash is a Democrat, City Council District 1. It is uncontested. She's a current council member and the council's inaugural president, continuing to her second term, a Hood College graduate with a BA and an MBA, community advocate and nonprofit business manager with deep private sector experience informing her policy work. She also is active in her faith community. She focuses on fiscal stewardship, neighborhoods, transparency, and public planning. Next, we have Mr. Cesar Diaz, Democrat, City Council District 2. He's a neighborhood first voice. He talks about everyday stuff that makes life easier, safe blocks, accessible parks, city services that show up on time. He leans collaborative. He's very collaborative and practical. He's focused on the West Side's needs and keeping working families in Frederick with attainable housing and better local connections. Public safety, parks and rec, housing, and transit. Hello, Cesar.
Okay, well that's it. Thanks everyone for being here. My name is Cesar Diaz, and I am running to represent District 2. If you're not familiar with the district boundaries, our District 2 is the area that encompasses the Golden Miles and the residential areas south of that. And I'm running because when, like a couple other folks have said, when the new charter system charter review with the district system went into effect, I saw that as a great opportunity to directly represent the different parts of the city. And I was approached by people in the community about running and being able to represent the specific needs of District 2, which for a long time has not gotten the attention that a lot of people in the community feel it deserved. In the last few years, there's been a lot of capital improvement projects that have been pushed into District 2. A lot of people think, well, that's because so many of them had not been done for years before that. So there's this feeling that the needs of the community were not being communicated or were not being addressed by a previous Board of Aldermen, mayor system. So there's this need to make sure, not only for District 2, but for all the individual district representatives, to be that voice for the community, so that this doesn't happen where you have a specific part that does not feel represented. We could probably all argue about which is the best district, and everybody else is just wrong, because I am in the best district, but it's important that that is reflected in the city's priorities. Like Libby just said, there's a lot of great places in this town. Frederick is not a great place to live just because of downtown Frederick. It's because of downtown Frederick and everything else. We're all part of the city, and we deserve equal attention, and we deserve to be able to have our voices heard. And that's why the district system, I think, is going to be really effective in getting that across, and that's why I ran, in order to be able to be that voice for that District 2 community. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, next we're going to go to the City Council District 4 election. So I got a message from Scott last year right before this. He is unable to make it because he is having a medical issue at the moment, but he wanted to give his regards and apologies for not being here because he did want to be here. Scott is a service-oriented neighbor. He meets people where they are, in the streets, at civic meetings and inboxes, with focus on practical fixes that add up. He talks about modernizing essentials without losing sight of the human side of city services and keeping District 4 responsive as growth pressures rise. He focuses on infrastructure, affordability, engagement, and smart growth. He is a City Council District 4 candidate in a contested spot. Next up, his challenger, Joe Atkins. Joe Atkins is a Republican, City Council District 4 candidate in a contested district. He's a seasoned planning official, 35 years of experience, and deep roots in Frederick's development history. He brings calm, pragmatic style and a builder's eye for how projects can actually get done, and he blends respect for the city's historic fabric with a push to make processes clear and faster for residents and businesses alike. He focuses on permitting, business climate, infrastructure, and the historic fabric of Frederick.
Thanks. Just a few things about me. I've lived in the city of Frederick for 50 plus years, give or take. As was mentioned, I worked for the planning department for 35 years. I think I am only the second city employee to run for city office. I could be wrong on that, I'm double checking that, but I think that gives me a unique perspective on how things get done, how things don't get done. I've worked for 7 mayors, 4 have been Republican, 3 have been Democrat. Not once have my party affiliation has come into play for that. When I first announced that I was running, people were shocked that I was a Republican. And then when that weared off, people were shocked when I came out in the newspaper and said that I'm a little R, not a big R. I can sum up my political stance really quickly. I'm a fiscal conservative and socially moderate. The reason I got into this is because the uncertainty at the state and the federal level, there are going to be a lot more issues that are going to be pushed down to the city and to the county. And without being responsible with our funds, people are going to be coming to us because nonprofits and other sectors are going to say, well, this was cut off, come help us. We need to figure out how to best manage our money to help where things have been dried up either by the state or by the feds. So that's the real reason I got in. I've lived in District 4, I'm not gonna say all my life, but most of my life. My kids were born in District 4. I know the hospital's in District 5, but we had home birth. So both kids were born in District 4, they went to school in District 4. I know a lot about Frederick, a lot of quirky things that don't really come into play. I will say that other than being fiscally conservative, I think the city needs to focus on other areas besides downtown. Downtown's great, we all love downtown. Things I proposed when I was working for the city, put a parade on Key Parkway for a multicultural parade. There's 3 3 intersections that you have to contend with. It's just over a mile long. You got residential on both sides. It would be perfect. It's an easy parade route to monitor and to maintain. We have Whittier up in District 5. If any of you are old enough, the great bathtub race that was in Color Lake, move that up or something similar to take in the amenities of the lake up in Whittier. Maybe have a cardboard boat race, which is always fun because they don't last that long. So while I represent District 4, I think I know a lot about the city. Being a former staff member, when staff is sitting in the audience and listening to the elected officials, talk about things, we see the unintended consequences of what they're talking about, the legislation they're proposing, what's going to go wrong with it. Whether or not they listen to us or not, that's another story. We voice our concerns, and then we have to deal with it. I think having that unique perspective, I can help solve some of the unintended consequences that are that's going to happen with the proposed legislation. So with that, Joe Atkins, District 4. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Joe. That was awesome. Next up, we have the 2025 Frederick City Council District 5 elections. First up, we have Sarah Hempel Irani. She is in a contested race. She's a warm, community-minded artist and a business owner. She is best known locally for the Bronze Claire McCardle a statue on Carroll Creek, and her approachable collaborative style. Also, thank you for that. That's pretty awesome. She ties creative peacemaking to everyday livability, seeing art, upkeep, and affordability as parts of the same neighborhood fabric. She focuses on neighborhood quality, affordability, and fiscal care, as well as managed growth.
Thank you. I love that bio. So I'm Sarah Hempel-Irani, and most of you know me, if you know me, as an artist. But I moved here 25 years ago to start a business. I make custom statuary for communities. And I have a master's degree in medieval and Renaissance studies, which sounds really unrelated to anything. But my master's thesis looked at a particular work of Italian art, and it was subtitled Artist, Patron, and Community. So whether in my scholarly work or in my everyday life, I'm always thinking about connections and relationships. And part of my inspiration, as it were, to run for city council comes from this background in owning a business, being an artist, being in the arts community here in Frederick, and the Claire McCardle sculpture, which, yes, my name is on the back of it, but it was very much a collaborative project. We had an idea, and we kind of worked backwards from that idea, bringing in collaborators, fabricators, landscape designers, lighting designers, bringing in all the necessary people to make this idea a reality, and then we gave it to the city. And I was looking for another way to support and to serve my community using my creativity. And in sculpture, we have to make something real. Just like when we're running a city, when we're building roads, when we're building homes, this is something real, and we have to figure out how to get there. This isn't just ideas. I'm rooted in the laws of physics and economics in my work. I've also started a nonprofit. We had to move away for a few years. Remember that economic recession? Did you all remember that? We were like, which one? 2007. But when I was there, oh, thank you, Siri. When we were there, I was working to establish an arts community that was already there but just wasn't organized. And the Office of Economic Development asked me to start an arts council. And we built an art center from the ground up, a 501c3. And Frederick, I've learned, has more nonprofits than any other county in the tri-state area. And it's something I'm really, really proud of. And the city works collaboratively with our nonprofits to serve the people here. I'm incredibly people-focused, and that has been the absolute best part of this whole campaign. I'm a first-time candidate, and I have met hundreds of people knocking doors, going to events, many of you here, and that stays as a treasure with me. And some of the things that people have shared with me at the door, people have shared hard things in their lives with a stranger who showed up to listen. Many people have talked about what's happening in the federal government, and they're worried about their futures. They're worried if they can stay in their homes. A lot of people have talked about growth outpacing infrastructure. And District 5 has a lot of very new neighborhoods. And even the people in the very new homes, you know, are worried about this and are seeing that this is a problem, especially as they're trying to get around. A lot of people know me as the street safety lady. You see it on my logos and in a lot of my conversations. And for me, being the person who's interested in connections, if we have price appropriate housing, I'm reluctant to say affordable because that means something very specific, like Derek said, housing for every income level and stage in life. And you have good jobs, and you have grocery stores, and you have schools, but if you can't get there, if you can't get there safely, if you can't afford to get there, that's a problem. So I've really been focusing a lot on transportation. So that's me.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, next up, the Republican challenger, City Council District 5, Rob Callahan. Where are you? All right. That's unfortunate. My son was calling at the same time I'm presenting. A straight shooting technology and policy writer with an analytical bent. He's comfortable talking shop on budgets and services, and he frames District 5 priorities around everyday livability, reliability. Streets that work, trash picked up, traffic that actually moves. Taxes, Core services, transportation, and accountability are his primary focuses. Rob Callahan.
Thank you. So I'm not a politician. I've always liked following politics from afar. I'm a retired deputy fire chief in the Washington, D.C. Fire Department. I served 34 years there in the nation's capital. It was a job a little more than just riding a fire truck. When I retired, I was responsible for the fire protection, hazardous materials, technical rescue, mass casualty incidents for the city of Washington, D.C. We had a $120 million budget. We have over 2,500 employees, so it's a little more than just riding a fire truck. Over those years, I've seen pretty much every imaginable situation that you could imagine. And what I liked about that is we could quickly resolve these difficult issues easily with some common sense, sound judgment. And that's what I want to bring to the city. So the new charter is one of the reasons I decided to get into this election, because we have distinct districts. I've lived in District 5, which I'm hopefully will represent, for well over 30 years. I've watched that whole community develop. My kids were born there. My wife is a special ed teacher right there. She's retired in District 5, so I know it well. So I want to be the first District 5 council person to represent that area. District 5 has some very specific needs. Every question I will answer in regards to District 5 will be in the context of what benefits the residents of District 5. Okay, we have some needs that are a little bit different than the rest of the city. One of the other reasons I'm running is taxes. Okay, in the area I live in, I was hoping to be a third generation Whittier District 5 resident, but sadly, my kids, they went to school, they come back, they can't afford to live right here in District 5, so they have to move outside the city. My neighbors that live their whole life in Whittier, they buy their house, their kids go to school, they retire, they live. And it's simple because the tax rate, while it is the same, I think the city reduced it 3% last year. The assessments are going through the roof. Okay, there's a thing, the constant yield tax rate, that's the state of Maryland recommends a rate dependent on the assessment of every 3 years the assessments on the real property. They need to match. The assessments on both the commercial property and residential property is going through the roof, and it's forcing our retirees, which I say is our most vulnerable citizens, to move. They were our most dedicated citizens, and they're moving out. It's a shame. Our kids are going to school, and they're not coming back to our neighborhood. So my main focus is going to be on the tax rate, and what I would like to see at some point, especially for people that were 65 years of age and older and who've lived in the city for a certain amount of time, that the tax rate and the overall taxes that they pay, the city taxes, are capped. So that's it. So at least you know if you're 65, this is one bill that's not going to go up. Everything else is going to go up, and hopefully we can lobby the county to do the same thing for our seniors. So that's number one. That's the most important priority. Number two is police protection. We have a great police force, but the city has grown in area, and while we have an excellent police force, the response times are not as good out to District 4 and District 5. And not only that, the areas aren't being adequately patrolled. And I think having a patrol in these areas will prevent crime. Just the other night we had people going through the neighborhood stealing items from cars. So they do that 2, 3 in the morning. They know there's no police presence. While a citizen can call the police and they'll be there in 4 or 5 minutes, but it's not preventing the crime. It may be considered petty crime to somebody who is not affected, but when you're affected by this petty crime, it's pretty serious. And what I'm afraid of is what happens when these individuals that are creating petty crime run into the homeowner. Then that becomes a real issue, and that's what we want to prevent. So I think our great city police department, this is something we would have to have a group and talk to see if it requires additional police officers to patrol these outlying areas, or they can just reassign. So that's something I don't know. I don't know what the cost is, but that's important. And then everything else in District 5 is basic core government services that they want to see addressed. And Joe was saying about Whittier, for example, and that's where I live. Great community. It's beautiful out there, and that's where that's where I want to live the remainder of my life. We have a beautiful lake. I would like to see that lake stocked with fish, because people fish there all the time. I would like to see a pavilion that's adequate for the size of the development. Whittier is the largest development in the city of Frederick, of the newer developments, and I think our pavilion should match that. Restrooms at the pavilion, as well as like a ground level stage area right on the lake to host small events. I think the citizens of District 5 would appreciate that, because it seems like most of the services go downtown, and maybe rightfully so for the most part, but I think this is a really good opportunity for District 5 to be represented. And I think whoever represents District 5, Sarah or myself, will bring those issues to light to City Council. And then lastly, one of the reasons I'm running is the city is all Democrat. It's one party rule. There's no diversity of thought. I'm not saying that there's no diversity of thought between the individual candidates, but you need some checks and balances. So generally, in my opinion, with working with groups and committees, the loudest voice in the room usually gets their way. And I think that's the same way possibly with city government. If you have all Democrats, you have to have somebody else in there. 1, 2, 3 people, whatever it may be. And we could even have 8 of the best Democrats in office, but you have to have diversity of thought. And that's one of the reasons I'm running. So with that, thank you for coming out and listening to me. Thank you.
Outstanding. Okay. Next up, we have our mayoral candidates. So first up, we're going to have Tom Trott, the challenger, Republican candidate for mayor of Frederick. He's a longtime Frederick resident, local mortgage entrepreneur who projects a roll-up-your-sleeves type of energy. His pitch is business, forward and back to basics and city services. Jobs and businesses, public safety, infrastructure, taxes, and spending are his top priorities. Thank you, sir.
All right, this room filled up nicely. It's great to see you all tonight, and thank you to the Forward Party for getting us all together. I really appreciate it, and appreciate all the other candidates that got here tonight. And look forward to this election being over in 2 weeks, and hopefully the count done a week after that. I'm Tom Trott, and I'm running for mayor of Frederick because it's time to get our city back to the basics, back to core government services. We need roads, parks, water, and sewer systems that keep up with our growth. I'll make sure our infrastructure is reliable, safe, and ready for the future. When I look at what we've got going on Route 15, I'm very happy that the state's going to be stepping up, and in a few years we'll have the design done so this road can be widened. It should have been done long ago. It should have been a priority for the state, and it just hasn't been. When I look at the projects that are going up on South and Patrick Street, I wonder where people are going to park. We have guidelines for this sort of thing, but they're given exceptions when the developers request it, and it's just not right. We need to be looking at these developments from a mile-high view. So our cars, people's cars in these neighborhoods can get through fine, but they're going on the clogged arteries all over Frederick, and that needs to change. I'm going to work to attract new businesses and create local jobs while streamlining permitting and review processes so our projects can happen faster without red tape slowing us down. And I've experienced that on a couple houses that I just recently built on South Carroll Street, where plans are rejected, and then we redo them and submit them for the sewer, and then we go and we put in the sewer in, and the inspector comes out and says, well, you can't do it this way. So, well, that's what's on the plans. You know, what do you mean we can't do it that way? So, well, you're not going to get this permit signed off on if you don't do it this way, and we have to change things. Safer streets matter. I'm going to support community policing that keeps our neighborhoods secure and our residents protected. And I'm really looking forward to tonight, since we have all the candidates here. I'd love to take a 2-block walk down the creek and back around, and you can decide for yourselves if we have a vagrancy problem or if we have issues on the creek that need to be addressed. I can tell you last night at 1 in the morning, or this morning at 1 in the morning, the police were back out. It's not uncommon to find needles and other things. There's got to be some solutions, and I'm looking forward to working with the city council to find those solutions that carefully make it so that our families can be there and respecting the rights of the people to use that park, and that's all people. I've been in affordable housing for the 25 years of my mortgage career, and I know that's a little bit different than some of the issues that we're dealing with here, is we need to make sure workforce housing is something that we're looking at. I want people living and working in Frederick. I know how to get things done. With experience in business, banking, and community service, I'll bring practical leadership to City Hall, leadership focused on results and not politics. I will never put my political party above the people of Frederick. I want to change my R to an F, and that F is for Frederick. I'm Tom Trott, and I'd be honored to serve as your mayor. I keep Frederick growing safe and stronger. I'm Tom Trott, 1 Frederick, and I look forward to answering your questions in just a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up is the mayor. The mayor of Frederick, Michael O'Connor, Democrat. He's a steady, civic-minded neighbor who spent years listening on porches and at forums. He leans collaborative and pragmatic, and talks about keeping Frederick's momentum while tightening the connection between City Hall and its residents. He focuses on continuity, engagement, equity, and quality of life. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much. As we're moving into just 2 weeks to go, it's great to see that people are still actively engaged, the candidates understand the assignment, and everybody's running to the tape, because elections matter. I have been really fortunate to serve the city over the last 8 years as mayor, but I feel like my service to Frederick predates my time in public office by about 2 decades, because I spent the first 20 years of my working life as a journalist in Frederick. I worked for a radio station and for the TV station locally, and I spent those 20 years largely in Frederick County, a little bit in Washington County, covering local government. And as a result of that experience, I really came to appreciate what happens every day in local government. The fact that there's no place for you to run. Federal government can be shut down right now, and who are we having a conversation with about that? We're having conversations with one another. City government can't shut down. We have a responsibility every day to our residents in every neighborhood and every community, and that's the approach that we've taken to governing from day one. The city of Frederick is a vibrant city. We're a growing city, but we are not immune from the same challenges that they're dealing with at the state and at the federal level. There are macroeconomic issues that we can't control, whether that's tariffs or interest rates or economic slowdowns or crackdowns on immigration that impact the ability of employers to find workers that they need. All of those things hit us in Frederick, and we have a responsibility every day to deliver services to our residents despite what's happening at the state and the federal level. Our goal is to build partnerships with the county, with the state, the federal government. We've done that very effectively over my time in office, and we're going to continue to pursue that. We want Frederick, I want Frederick, I think we all want Frederick to be a community of opportunity. We want every person that grew up in Frederick, that's Tom and I, to feel like this is the place that we can stay and retire. And we want everyone who chose to come to Frederick to see Frederick as a community of opportunity. And
And so our emphasis has been over the last 8 years on building opportunity, whether that's resilience to deal with stormwater impacts, whether that's guiding a community through an unprecedented global pandemic, and doing everything that we could every day to ensure that our residents were protected, that our downtown businesses had the support that they need, and to make sure that we were doing everything to support businesses all across the city of Frederick. In a second term, we've had an opportunity to expand our focus, and we've put a lot of time and energy over the last 4 years into looking at what it means to be a city of opportunity, building out some workforce development infrastructure in the city of Frederick, looking at some of our underserved communities and parks at Mullinax, in Hill Street, working with the county to get a library site on the west side of the city of Frederick to serve residents of West Frederick. Moving forward on building amenities at Westside Regional Park, including a community center that's in the design process right now. And I just came from, I feel like I'm overdressed in comparison to my fellow candidates up here. I just came from meeting with our youth council to talk to them about the legislative process for the city going to Annapolis to look at funds and legislation. And how we engage young people in the process of government is really critical. And we've been working side by side with our young people on a youth center project that's going to be developed on Jefferson Street, another partnership with the county and the federal government, because we've gotten some congressionally directed spending from our Congress people. We know that Frederick has an affordability issue. We know that quality of life is not something that we can take for granted. It's why we've made historic investments in expanding the number of officers in the police department. It's why we built a new police headquarters in downtown Frederick. We have made the commitments to what you have to do to create a community with a strong quality of life, and we're not going to stop creating those commitments, because if we're not a city that's serving every resident in every neighborhood everywhere, then we're not that city of opportunity that we aspire to be. I am Michael O'Connor. I am your mayor. I ask for your vote. If you haven't voted already, early voting is Friday and Saturday. You can vote in person on November 4th. I really appreciate you all being here today, and I look forward to the questions to come. Thank you.
I should pull up the chair.
You put me right in the awkward spot in the middle here. Oh, next to Libby, that's a good spot.
And then I need one more chair, one more high top.
I don't need a high top. I'm fine.
Okay, so in the beginning of the conversation, we had some issues with the presentation, but the presentation is fixed. Frederick Forward and the Mayoral and Forward Party, like we talked about at the beginning, you met PJ. Some of you weren't here. PJ, sitting over here, he's part of us. Then we have Matt Byers. He also did a lot of work here. He's also going to be answering asking some questions alongside my colleague, David Collier. Come on, David. David was the one who was coordinating and helped plan this, and he was the one who talked to all the candidates. So David's role now is going to be the question man. All right, can you go to the Q&A slide, please? Thank you, sir. All right, so as we talked about, respectful, local focused questions, open-mindedness. You guys have done a great job as an audience. You're super attentive. Not a single person has fallen asleep yet. And all the candidates, you've done a great job expressing your opinions and your perspectives. Thank you. David Collier, the young buck, have fun, buddy.
That's me. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is David. I'm a volunteer for the Forward Party, and I'm fairly new to Frederick. I've only been living here for about a year. I'm originally from Carroll County, Finksburg, grew up in Finksburg. I moved here because my spouse, Elle, is a speech therapist at a local speech clinic in the downtown area. I fell in love with the city very quickly. It's a beautiful city. Love the downtown, love the countryside, and I love the people. It's just been a great journey up until this point, so I really appreciate you guys coming to this event. Without further ado, let's get into these questions. First question, this will be kind of like just jump in or whatever, whoever wants to answer. Affordability is a buzzword, but what tactical or executionable actions do you propose to obtain affordability? Anyone can raise their hand.
So I'm really proud that we have a partnership right now with Frederick County government. The city and the county are jointly funding a housing affordability needs assessment. And data from that is expected to be available. If you were cynical, you would say just in time for the election. Unfortunately, no. It's not going to be available until just after the election. So I don't want to guess about what's in that document, but that data collection is really critical because it's going to give us an idea of what the gap actually is. We talk about affordability a lot, and we've built over the last 10 to 15 years about 1,200 LIHTC or LIHTC type moderately priced units. But those are everything from 60 to 80 to 120 AMI. It's difficult without data to know whether that's the niche that we're having a difficult time filling. Do we need more 80% AMI? Or do we need to look at more deeply affordable units, 60%, 40%, even 20% AMI, if we're really meeting the need based on housing prices today? So the benefit of a study like that is the data that it's going to give us to make sure that we're not taking a shotgun approach to trying to solve something as complex as housing affordability. We're actually going to look where the problems are. We're going to identify where the need exists. And then we can carefully look at the tools that the city actually has in its toolbox, our regulations, our fees, our codes. We can't do anything about interest rates. We can't do anything about market. We can't do anything about the price of wood or bricks or labor. We can look at what we control in our codes and in our regulatory structure, and then we can build a tactical plan that addresses where the gap actually exists.
Thank you.
Anyone want to jump?
So just south of us is Montgomery County, and they've been very successful at building using their MPDUs. We're basically not using that money. We don't have a plan for it. The builders always pay it. So there's something in our regulations that are not allowing these developers to put the MPDUs in effect. So we're basically collecting money without a place to put it. I'm happy that we have a study coming out. It's probably been a long time coming, but there's got to be something regulatory that's making the difference between Montgomery County and here, how they're able to build them and we're just able to keep getting a pot of money to figure out what to use later on. I'm going to be focused on workforce housing, and I'm looking forward to seeing the study as well.
Just real quick, AMI, average medium income. So two things. One are when we have housing and not rent control, but the LIHTC projects, they're based off of DC's rent. And so we're part of the DC COG, Council of Government. So, you know, the rent down there is more than what the rent up here should be. So that's one thing we have to look at because it's really skewed towards DC, and that's why we're getting a lot of the LIHTC projects up here because they can charge the higher rent up here and still fall within the LIHTC issues. And just as far as moderately priced dwelling units, the city hasn't built one, but I'm suggesting that the city doesn't build one. I think we should work with nonprofits, and I'm going to use Habitat for Humanity as an example. They already have the infrastructure in place. So what we do is collect the fees. We do land trusts with the nonprofits. We do bridge loans with the nonprofits. They have the infrastructure in place where they know how to rent out units, how to keep track of everything. If we started in earnest an MPDU program, if you look at Montgomery County, I think has 17 people monitoring their units in one way or another. 17 people are touching the MPDU program. So I think by doing it with nonprofits, we don't have to hire more people. The nonprofits have the skill set to already do it, and I think it would be a win-win.
Yes. It's on.
Okay. The project right up here on St. Street, West All St. Streets, our NPDU funding went to some of that. And the NPDU funding, the legislation has changed, so I want all of us to be clear. It's now per square footage, which means is the developers really have to really seriously consider the option of whether or not they're going to build or whether or not they're going to get the funds. So, for instance, previously before, it was just a flat rate of $16,500. No matter whether it's a 1,200 square foot home or a 24 or 2,500 square foot home. Now that's changed. That formula has changed. I was a sponsor of that. Now it's per square footage. So a 1,200 square foot home and a 25 square home is not the square footage home is not the same. That allows us, because our housing needs are so great, that allows us the opportunity to be flexible. Also allows us the opportunity to partner, such as mentioned. The city should not be in the business of building homes because we don't have the administrative oversight to do that. But we do have the ability to use our funding resources to partner with those entities and those nonprofit organizations who are doing some fabulous work, who advocate and also have the administrative ability and capacity to do so. Mayor mentioned previously in regards to the housing that's taking place. That will also allow us to now look at our AMI in terms of, for Frederick City, not just using the DC model for doing that. So as we collect this data, it also allows the opportunity to see where we are currently standing now, but also where we currently are going in the future. We talk about housing affordability. It's also important for us to talk about various tools, ADUs, MPDUs, LIHTC projects. It's not just a one solution fix to this. It's going to take a multi-pronged approach for us to address this. But also along with affordability is we do it to ensure, particularly from an economic development standpoint, that our businesses have the climate and also the resources to function and also to hire people right here in our community. Because when they hire in our community, they spend in our community, they also contribute to our community, and they also volunteer in our community. So it also helps in terms of a traffic model, transportation model, which helps us also. So affordability is not just about housing, but it's also about economics, also about employment. It's also about various aspects of many different childcare, daycare. It just doesn't concern about housing. Housing is important because people need places to live, of course, but it does no good if you have a place to live and you don't have an opportunity to work. You don't have the opportunity to get education in terms of not only formal education, but also job training, also trades, which are so important, and also for our young people to see the ability they have the opportunity to stay here as well.
Awesome. Can I add to that?
We get this question a lot, and we could probably go on forever because there isn't one solution. We need to expand a variety of housing options, like was mentioned here. So we need to look at what is limiting that. Why isn't that happening right now? When I was talking about me being a renter and having to look at new places recently, there's options from a 1-bedroom to a 3-bedroom or higher. I wanted a 2-bedroom. It's really hard to find a 2-bedroom. Why? So that is how my mind works. I always annoy my supervisors at jobs because I ask, why are things the way that they are? And that's something we need to be looking at. What are these barriers? Why are developers paying the fee in lieu instead of building those affordable housing units? I know our legislation needs to be more intentional and have that evaluation piece that I was talking about, and what are our goals? So we have some data coming out. What are we going to do with that data? What's the goal for a year from now? So we could say, okay, we are addressing this issue and here's what we're doing. We also know that Frederick is going to keep growing, so how are we planning for that? One of the contributors to the cost is the length of the permitting process. There are some cities that have what they call a toolkit. So developers can know exactly what they need to do and how long the process is going to take. And there's an idea from another candidate this summer that suggested developers that are wanting to push forward affordable housing units go to the front of the line. And I think there's a lot of great ideas, and we need to try them.
Yeah, I want to echo what Derek Shackelford said. Also, that affordability is more than just housing. Housing is important, and like Libby said, this is a topic that comes up at every forum we've done the entire election. But affordability is a bigger issue than just rent. Yes, rent is important, or mortgages, paying for your housing. I know my biggest monthly bill is my rent. Like Libby, I'm a renter, and I've lived in Frederick since 1995, however long that is. So a long time, and I figured out after starting to run, I've lived in every district in the city except District 3. And I see the issue getting worse, right? what I paid for rent for a single family home in the early 2000s is not even what I would pay for a one bedroom apartment now in specific parts of town. But on top of the rent, like Councilman Shackelford was saying, is the big picture. We need to have considerations for those other issues: childcare, transportation, jobs. How do we make everything else affordable so that once people pay that largest bill that they have every month, their rent or their mortgage, they have money left over to buy food, to pay the rest of their bills, to take their family out to dinner, to be able to provide their kids the things that they need to be able to be successful in school. Big, huge picture involved in affordability that goes beyond housing, and I think the City Council needs to start looking at how we can address those issues as well, so that affordability across the board is easier, is better managed, and easier for people to get by.
This helps a little bit. Thank you so much for those answers. Kind of shifting topics here. I'd be interested in each candidate's thoughts on some of the city's outdated, maybe non-functional, unpractical building codes, and whether you would consider reviewing the existing codes for potential revisions.
In any particular order?
Anyone, yeah, anyone. You can jump in, Sarah.
This is one of my favorite topics. I've said multiple times that just like we did with the city charter, they brought together a committee of experts and residents and rewrote the city charter. And I think we need to do the same thing with our land management code and plan for the future and not just for how things have always been. This sort of idea of, you know, only single family homes in a neighborhood, we've learned that, you know, mixed use is more viable. In my neighborhood, I would love to see more ADUs, and it's challenging, especially if your driveway is only so big, because there's parking requirements. So, and East Frederick Rising has done incredible work to talk about form-based code and small area plans, and we have the information, we have the experts. We have some incredible experts in this city when it comes to planning and form-based codes and these sorts of things. And it's not exciting to talk about land management codes, but these are the things that shape our lives and shape our cities. It affects affordability. And this is a long-term project. We're not going to get this done in the first 100 days. And I think there's already been some bubbles of it within the city. So I think we all know that land management code shift is coming. Anyone else?
I'm just gonna jump onto that. I don't have anything different to say. I also want us to look at the land management code and have a committee around that. Like Sarah said, it is gonna take time. So I want us to look at and see what are small things that we can change now to help us while we're waiting for that to be enacted. And something to note on that, most or all of the new candidates, at least on the Democratic side, want to look at this and want to look at the land management code. What I think is really great about that is we are all on the same page when we're coming forward with this new term.
Interesting enough, this new council will be deciding on some of those things, such as ADU parking, such as form-based code. So we're going to have we're going to have the opportunity to have that broad discussion. So that's going to be in our lap and relatively soon as we look into this new term.
Anyone want to take that?
Just a real quick history lesson. The 86 zoning ordinance, the land management code, was very flexible, was very, gave staff and the planning commission a lot of leeway. And then when the 2005 land management code came out, what the city heard was that we want a predictive process. We want, and it's basically a cookbook, and I think that's where the planning commission, the city council now, and planning and engineering staff lost a lot of flexibility. So I think looking at the land management code would not be a bad thing. And just as a side note, you know, the city's housing stock, again, is about a third, single family townhouse and multifamily. So we do have a diversity of housing type. Whether it's in the right place and all that, needs to be looked at. But a good look at the land management code would be a good start.
I'm excited to see the ADUs become more prevalent. We need to figure out ways to make that happen, and if that's addressing the parking, then that's it, or if there's other ways to do it, I'm open for anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. This question is posed to Joe Adkins, Libby Taylor, and Derek Shackelford, but if anyone else wants to hop in, feel free.
I don't know. Okay.
Will you support a walkable connection from East Church and Wren Farm neighborhoods?
Yes.
That was easy. Very easy. Did you want to say something, Dave? Okay, okay. Next question. Council must have staff. What say you? Do you think we should have a national search, like for police chief, for planning director?
We have a planning director already. Gabrielle Collard is our planning director. She is the director of planning for the city of Frederick. We did a national search.
Boom, another question answered. Here's more of a broad one. How do you intend to engage young people during your time in office?
One is where we are engaging young people currently. Now, as always, we need to do that more. Me personally, in this political process, we talk about young people being involved. I've had an intern every, I won't say every term. I've had an intern in every cycle, just about in my term in office, and that allows. And not only did they intern, but they've also done specific projects, and some of the projects were implemented. And I'm happy to say that one of my interns is here tonight, Gabe, who interned with my office. So that's a piece. And then the other part about it is for us is supporting nonprofit organizations who do youth mentoring, who have youth components to their organizational structure. The city cannot do it. I always say this: the city cannot do it all. But one of the things the city can do, it can lead on efforts and support those entities and those nonprofit organizations who are doing tremendous work.
Yeah, I think reaching out to younger voters or people even before that they vote is extremely important. And I think the district model that we've all talked about before is going to allow for more connection between the council and the people that they represent. For me personally in District 2, I'm going to make reaching out and getting the people of District 2 involved a priority, because that, to me, is why we have this district system. So not only to young people, but to everybody in the community, reaching out, having regular communications, whether it's through the NAC or however that ends up, if that ever ends up changing, or just having regular community meetings, community events, but getting the public involved and knowing that they have that connection. And that will also include young people, and letting them know that they have a stake in what happens in the city. Maybe before that they can vote, they can at least get educated and familiar with the issues, and seeing ways that they can contribute, and work with not only the nonprofits but also with the schools on how we can encourage more civic engagement. My stepson goes to Frederick High School, and they have the Links program there. That could be something that could be used also to reach out to kids even before they can vote, to again teach them how civics and government and their local institutions are important in their day-to-day lives.
Oh, sorry, do you want to go ahead? Okay.
Yeah, so I think a good way of getting the younger folks involved in city government is through summer programs. When I was working in Washington, D.C., we had summer programs that involved the police department, fire department, parks and recreation, pretty much every agency within the government. And some are paid, some are volunteer. I think the City of Frederick Police has the Explorers program now, I believe, and that's a good program. So anytime you can get the kids at a young age involved in the community, they see the functions that the government provides, it's going to lead them to engage and maybe pursue a career possibly in government service.
I would just like to say that
I am where I am in my career because of mentors, and I've had mentors in my life since I was in middle school. And I believe deeply that it is our duty to pass along our knowledge and our experience to the next generation. I have teenagers at my house, and I teach art at FCC, and I am engaging young people on a regular basis. I had an intern who is a poli-sci student over at McDaniel College working on the campaign. And so I'm already doing this work. And one thing I want to quote Cesar from another context where he said, do the work with us, not for us. And I think it's really important to partner with young people because the young people, they're inheriting the mess or the success that we build now. And so I think it's really important to build with them. And I know that the young people that I've worked with care and have been talking a lot more about sustainability than the adults because they're the ones who are going to have to inherit our climate disaster. They're the ones who are inheriting some of the political disasters. And so it's so important to make sure that we're working with young people.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Since I'm just Absolutely. I'll just be short. So I think these are really great ideas, and I know that everybody here saying them about engaging young people will. I'm thinking about those that are 18 and older, 18 to 35, 18 into 40. We are not really showing up. I'm saying we because I'm one of them. Because there is very little trust in the system and in the government, so we look federally a lot because you open up your phones and it's right there. You turn on the radio, it's right there. So people don't know what the city can do. So one, we need to be sharing, this is what the city is doing for you right now. I think it's wonderful. And we hear your issue and this is what we're doing to resolve it. We gotta build that trust and people will get engaged.
So I think it's important to talk about what we want to do, but I think it's also important for us to tell you what we have done. And I mentioned that before I came over here, I was with our youth council. The youth council is a collaboration of the city, the county, and the 1224 Collaborative, which involves some technical funding support from the Oshman Family Foundation. So it's public-private, and it's young people, middle school into college age. So it hits that older than just the traditional school-age children and reaches up to 24-year-olds, young people who perhaps have not achieved all of their adult milestones. And so that's part of the task is to ready young people for the future. But I think it's not just about preparing them for some distant tomorrow, but how can we engage them today on something that actually matters? And that's why it's been great to have their voices side by side as we've worked on building this youth center project on Jefferson Street. They have been working hand in hand with the architects and designers, building, program, and designing a facility that meets the needs of what young people want. Not us telling them, here's what you want, here's what you need, but asking them and having them participants side by side. Earlier today, I met with about 35 young people from Tuscarora High School who were on a field trip to City Hall from the Future Business Leaders of America. We're always looking at ways that we can engage with our young people. And the last point is we have an Office of Opportunities and Transformation, and the individual that oversees that work is leading our efforts to build apprenticeships, internships, fellowships, returnships in the city of Frederick, some of which are geared towards young people, but many which also are looking at an older cohort as well, the justice impacted, parents returning to the workforce from some time away, whether it was to raise kids or perhaps it was COVID impacts. So there are real things that we're doing today, and I'm very excited that there are individuals who will be sitting in these council seats that want to extend and expand that work as we move forward.
You're going to need that.
Thank you. This question is for the mayoral candidates. Frederick competes with other Maryland cities for businesses, residents, visitors, for everything. Given that, what two things will you champion as mayor to make us stand out?
Well, we need to have lower property taxes. We're competing against the county as well. We're competing against a lot of places that are a lot less expensive. We're one of the most expensive counties for property taxes. Our rate's unacceptable, and we need to figure out ways to lower it. Also, barriers to business include our permitting process, and we had an opportunity out on the West Ridge Shopping Center, and it just takes us too long to get things approved that the economics completely change. And you look at the timing for everything. West Side Regional Park, how long have we owned that property? Michael pointed out we're paying $1.5 million a year. We originally bought it for, I believe, $19 million. I know we've refinanced it at least once or twice since then, but we're spending a lot of money that hopefully we can find better solutions for and better utilization. The things to attract businesses is going to be helping with the permitting processes, and that's the biggest part of things, and getting our tax rate down to something reasonable, or maybe having, for new businesses coming to town, maybe having some tax incentives for them that are going to put us above other places. Thank you.
So one of the things that I've been doing since the early days of the pandemic is regular meetings with businesses in Frederick. And it's a fantastic opportunity in a laid-back environment to actually talk to them about what matters, about why they're here, about impediments to expansion, what are they trying to do with their business, what are their needs, how can the city help. There are a couple of recurring themes when you have those conversations. Number one, businesses move to Frederick County because Frederick County has a high quality of life. And they see a lot of raw materials available in Frederick. Proximity to larger urban areas, access to talent in a pretty wide geography, and a high quality of life, fantastic schools. We benefit in many ways from the location that real estate often talks about in terms of what we do as a community. What they tell us they need, however, is while there is great access to a talent pool, they struggle to actually find the workers that they need to fill the specific jobs that they have. Despite the presence of workforce services in Frederick County and the efforts with the community college and others, that gap in finding the employees that they need is something that our shipping program, our internships, apprenticeships, fellowships, and returnships are intended to help us try and address, to build that opportunity for residents and to better construct a pipeline. We have had a net growth of 400 plus new businesses since I've been in office. So businesses are coming to Frederick, and it's a wide array of businesses. And when I was just at a groundbreaking a couple of weeks ago for a $90 million expansion to a bakery manufacturer in Frederick that supplies baked goods to a number of well-known retail establishments. And they're adding a $90 million investment in expanding their plant, and they're going to need 80 new employees to help. And these are not traditional manufacturing jobs because it's all technology. They need people to run technology in these manufacturing facilities today. So it's not the sort of blue-collar job of old. It's a hybrid environment. So making sure that we continue through our Office of Economic Development, we've done a great job of building and supporting the businesses that want to be here and to attract the ones that want to come, making sure that we don't lose the high quality of life, which is a primary reason why a lot of businesses want to come here, from education to parks to a downtown, a vibrant community, all of that's critically important.
Thank you so much for that. In what ways will data be used to inform decision-making and support evidence-based strategies for the city's growth and development? This is for everybody.
Well, I talked about data driving the housing, so I'll let others weigh in on others, but there's an example of allowing seeking. We also have a partnership with Data Driven Frederick, which is a Hood College-based initiative to make sure that all of the community has access to good data, so that it's not just my data or your data, it's our data, and we're all kind of singing off of the same songbook when we're looking at what the issues are in the community. We're looking at shared data as a way to make decisions.
I'm not too sure exactly what data we have at our fingertips, but I probably more than we know what to do with. So what I do with my job, a lot of it is data when it comes to utilization and results and evaluation. So I want to make sure that we are understanding the scope of an issue if we're trying to solve it, and then making milestones to see if we're staying on target and hitting them. So for specifics, I don't really have any, but I want to make sure that we're looking at that lens and leveraging that data that we have. There's also several, nonprofits and the city and everybody's gathering a lot of data, but is it duplicative? Could we be working with some nonprofits with the data that they collect and to leverage that information? So it's something that I want us to be intentional to look at and to use.
Yeah, I think collecting and using data is one of the most important things that organizations like the City of Frederick need to do. I work in information technology, and I was recently talking to somebody who said data is the new raw material for new development. And development, they mean not just like houses, but like in everything. We have the ability to collect so much more data now just because of computing and technology advancements. But it's a raw material, so we need to be able to do something with it. And like the mayor was saying, and we've said it in other issues, is working with partnerships. So the city might not have the staffing or the technology and what to do with that data, but we definitely have the ability to work with partners who not only have collected data, like Libby was saying, but also have the ability to analyze that data and then do something with it. Raw materials aren't any good if you don't do something with it. And as we move further and further down the road of technology, we're going to have more and more of those abilities and more of that data, right? Our phones are constantly collecting data about us. Everything that we do is a piece of data on a database, on a hard drive, somewhere. We need to be able to bring all that together, get rid of things that are maybe duplicate, and then use that in order to make decisions. And I think that's going to be a very important thing for the city to consider moving forward.
Thank you. Next question. During the coming term, how do you plan to ensure that your past legislation is fully realized and not mired in bureaucracy?
Well, I got the mic first. Sorry, Dan. No, Peter actually mentioned that earlier, and he was the first person that I heard mention this when the campaign started, and that is the council's role as oversight. So when legislation is passed by the council and signed into law by the mayor, that's step one, right? Like, you've already passed it. There's a lot of steps that led up to that point, but now that it's law, now it has to be implemented. And then implementation also requires oversight so that we know that it is working, that it is being implemented, or maybe it's not working. And again, we talked about data a second ago. What do we need to know? Was there a glitch in what we put out? Is there something that isn't working and we need to make an adjustment? So that oversight role, which I believe will be easier now with the way that the new charter is organized, is going to be very, very key to not only the budgetary issues, which is where Peter had brought it up, but also for legislation and how are things working and what is not. So that's a new role for the council that I'm excited about.
There are some oversight responsibilities and also implementation with staff, but I think more importantly is collaboration. As a council member, I'm one of 7, and in that I need 4. So it's going to be important for me to work together with others and find some common ground for us to move legislation forward, but also us to look at it again, revisit those legislations again. Because if you try to work in a silo in this, it's not going to be effective at all. So it's going to be very important that relationships are cultivated, that collaboration in terms of joint sponsors, but also that all of us have talked about various issues that we agree upon on the surface. what's going to be important. When we start talking about the nuts and bolts and implementation, crafting those legislation, that we then be somewhere in the middle to ensure that these things move forward.
I can add real quick.
I agree with all of that. There are some tools that I'm familiar with. I'm writing one right now. It's called a joint chairman's report. So if the state legislature passes a law, a lot of times they'll ask for this JCR. So for the Maryland Department of Health, there was this benefit that was passed 2 years ago. So each year we give a report. So on the utilization, what are the barriers? What are we going to do next time? What are the wins? So I would love to see us utilize that. I don't want it to be overly burdensome on the departments, but to use when necessary. And then also sunset. So we pass legislation and we say for 3 years this is going to stop. So that legislation dies, that law dies after 3 years. You know, you could pick any date, and then you have to relook at it again. So then you're having the same conversations you had earlier. Just see, do we meet the intended goal, the purpose? What do we need to change? And policy is about incremental change. We will never get exactly everything we wanted. Not everybody is going to be happy. There might be unintended consequences. So with policy, you need to chip away to try to get at that issue you're trying to resolve.
That was loud. Sorry about that. Next question. We keep hearing about fixing current problems, and that's important. But we must also plan and design solutions for the future now. Which is more important?
Okay.
This will be brief, but future, because we can't solve anything right now. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we're gonna fix this tomorrow, and everything's gonna take time. So we really need to be responsible about what else is gonna change. So if we're looking at a road, okay, what about the stormwater right there? What about the sidewalks right there? So we always need to be thinking about the future, but how far into the future? And I think that that's where we're stuck a little bit. We don't want to just be thinking about the next year, the next couple of years. Like I said earlier, we know our projected growth, so let's be thinking 10 years out. Let's be thinking 30 years out.
Yeah, I think at different parts in the process, you're thinking about different things, and the organization is stacked in a way that if the mayor has to worry about whether a pothole is going to get filled, that's not a good use of the mayor's time. If a council person has to worry about potholes, that's not really a good use of their time either. We have people whose job are to assess the street level problems every day. That's the blocking and tackling that local government just has to do. We pick up the trash, we mow the parks, we fix the roads. There's a work plan for all of that. When a new problem emerges, it gets folded in, and there are people in the organization that will make sure that work gets done. If it doesn't get done in a timely manner, it's going to elevate up to a higher level. But there are just certain things that I think from an elected perspective, you just have to expect that the everyday work of city government, the turning of the crank, is being done by the professionals that we hire to do that work every day. As elected officials, I do think our obligation is to be a little bit more focused on the horizon, to look out farther, to anticipate what's coming, to not be figuring out what the next brush fire is that we're going to have to put out, but to see how do we prevent brush fires from happening in the first place. And we adopted a long-range strategic plan. Our comprehensive plan takes a longer view. That monitoring program is going to be unveiled here within the next month or so that the public has an opportunity to see the progress that we're making on the things that we've identified as long-term. Are we going to be successful on every one of those long-term things that every resident thinks is most important? Probably not. But at the very least, the public is going to have a chance to see what we're doing, to weigh in. And if we need to recalibrate our focus because our long-range attention is on something that may not be what's most important to our community in that moment, the benefit of a transparent process with that kind of a dashboard is that the public can see where we are and they can tell us where they want us to go.
Well, I can tell you what the brush fire is, and the brush fire is our infrastructure. It's our roads that are clogged, it's the water and sewer that we're not adequately looking at. And we need to be taking the mile-high view of everything. And we're on a path where we can have some very big problems in the next few years, and I intend to stop those.
Yeah, I think we need to be visionaries, and we need to have mechanisms in place to review the past. So it's a combination, it's a balance of both. And one of those mechanisms, I think, would be the NAC. The NAC is a good resource to let you know what you missed, what you are supposed to be doing that's working or not working. So I think it's a balance, but I think in general we have to be visionaries and look to the future, but be willing to come back and have the courage to admit what we've done, maybe that needs improvement or something that was wrong, and revisit that. So I think it's a constant balancing act of the future and reviewing everything that you've done in the past.
Can I make a sculpture metaphor? So when I'm working on a monument, it's a really overwhelming task and it's enormous. And I tend to make multiple models beforehand. And so I'm going to compare the model that I make to the comprehensive plan or to the long range vision that gives us a map of where we're going to go. And so any given day in the studio, I might work on a toenail or a eyelash or this sort of thing. But it's all in service of the final product, right? And so I know that I've come up against people who have talked about, we have a bike path that goes to nowhere. And yet there is a map of how they're eventually going to connect. And I think that we need to do a better job of communicating that to folks that, today I'm working on the foot, but there will be an entire figure here. It's just going to take some time. And so some of that is, looking to the models that we have and looking as we're progressing towards finishing the whole.
That was a great analogy. A couple more local questions. Affordability is a buzzword, but what tactical or executional actions do you propose to obtain affordability? Did you already ask that? I'm sorry. That was the first one, right? Forgot to.
See if we get the same.
No, we got a couple more. I forgot to get rid of that one. Sorry about that. This is still local. What measures would you take to address the rapidly increasing vagrancy along Carroll Creek Linear Park?
I struggle with questions like this, in large measure because implied in the question is that somehow being a person in need is inherently a problem for a community. And it's a problem, yes, but I don't think it's a problem the way the person asking the question thinks it's a problem with respect to whoever answered that question. We are, and I've said this before, we're a vibrant and a fluid community, but that vibrancy does not spread to every person that lives here. We have people in this community in need, and it is not a crime to be homeless. It is not a crime to need to go to the community table to get a meal so you can eat, or to go to the rescue mission to eat. And so for me, the challenge is how do we deliver human services in a human and compassionate way to our community? And what we are working on and have been working on is the partnership, the relationship that has to exist between our police department, which is often the first place anyone will call when there's a problem, and frankly, it's okay. That's the right call to make. If you've got a problem, if you see something that doesn't look right, it is never wrong to call the police department. But the back half of that model is the crisis response, which we have built out in the police department, and which we're developing as our new Director of Housing and Human Services works to fill out his staff of how we create co-responder models with our own city resources in human resources to concerns about someone on the creek who may be unhoused or who may be in crisis or who may need the assistance. That assistance may be police assistance depending on what they're doing, but it may be a human services, social services, compassionate human response. And so I'm troubled that we're in an economy right now that is pushing more people into more desperate situations, which will enhance the challenges of anyone who is living at, close to, or below the margins. And so we're going to continue to deliver a compassionate human response to the people who are in need in our community. And if you see someone in need, call us so that we can help them.
9 years ago, Thank you, Michael. 9 years ago, I moved to Carroll Creek. I didn't move there to try to move homeless people out or to move people that were hanging out during the day or to have the soup kitchen moved. That's in the perfect spot. And it's perfect that our police station is close there. But there are things happening in the park that are illegal, and we need to have a police presence on the park. I met with Chief Lando a week ago now, and we discussed some of the things that Michael brought up. It's not a crime to be homeless, and we should be reaching out and helping everybody we can. But one of the reasons that the rest of Frederick is not enjoying the linear park is they're frankly afraid to go down there. There's a lot of drug use and things that are not legal and shouldn't be allowed. Of course, there's a decent amount of camping on the park, which I don't think there should really be. That'll end up leaving us a little bit in the winter, but the council and I'll need to come up with some solutions that are compassionate for the people that are there and help out in their entire community so we can all enjoy walking on the creek. And I hope you all take me up on my little walk tonight. I promise you we'll just go down to East Street and back around, and you can see what we've been dealing with at night, every night on the creek. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I walk there frequently in my run in the morning and at night. I don't see what you see. I'm not saying that there's not some things that go on, but I don't see that. Because sometimes in these cases, there are people who bother them more than they bother other people. The other part about this, I'm sensitive to this. I think everyone wants to live in a safe community. No matter your economic status, no matter where you come from, I think everyone wants that. I'm careful about this because here's what I know. We all one paycheck away. Roof collapse, health crisis, something happens, and we're all going to be the ones who are with our hand out asking for help and assistance. So it's important for us not to turn our backs on persons. The other issue that we need to talk about is mental health. That's a very large issue in our community. So it's important for us to have that understanding, that compassion, that empathy as well. And the whole mantra of just trying to lock people up is not going to work.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Derek, because I've lived in Frederick since 1995. I've been downtown. I had a son who lived downtown. I take my family down here, and I've never been afraid. I don't see this nightmare scenario where people are afraid to walk down the creek. And the mayor made some really good points on how we can deliver services to the people who are going through an issue in their life that is causing them to need those services. But another thing that we need to do, and I agree 100%, but another thing that we need to do is before that. What can we do to prevent the people from needing the service at the point where they are unhoused or where they are in a mental health crisis or dealing with addiction? We've talked about affordability a million times, but that's a big one. How can we provide services to keep people from getting into that mental health crisis or from addiction getting to the point where it's affecting their ability to be housed, have jobs, etc. So I think services before it gets to that point, if those services still don't prevent that from happening, then how we deliver the services after are keys to how we deal with those issues. And also to echo what the mayor said, I hate that question. I do, because I've been asked that question a lot, and I haven't been asked that question one time when it hasn't been assumed that the answer is, how are you going to deal with this crime? How are you going to do with this thing that this person is doing? And I've been less than a paycheck away from being homeless. I've been less than a paycheck away from not being able to feed my family. Nobody does that on purpose. They're not doing that. Something is happening. So I'm not a fan of that question because I know the attitude and the mentality that is behind it, and I find that problematic.
I might need this. One more local question, and then we have one last question that's more of like a broader topic. Schools and transit are county issues. Are these issues important to the city as well? If so, how will you work to address these issues?
Well, they are important to the city as well, because I think that's quality of life. I said earlier, we're really fortunate to live in a county that makes strong investments in public education, and we have a lot to show for it as a result of that. And we benefit from that in the city of Frederick, which is why we have to be a good partner to the school system and to the county when it comes to schools. It's why the city used some of its fee in lieu of money to help move Hillcrest Elementary School expansion project a little bit faster. It's why we're having conversations with the Board of Education and the county right now about a school site at Brickworks. We know that how we advocate for education and education infrastructure in our city is critically important if we're going to maintain a high quality of life and ensure that every student who goes to school in the city of Frederick is being educated in the best schools they can. I'm grateful for the investments the county made in rebuilding Frederick High School, in rebuilding Lincoln Elementary School, in rebuilding Waverly Elementary School. They've made tremendous investments in the city of Frederick. Why? Because I think they know that we're an important place for them to invest as well. On the transit side, most of the people who use the transit system need to come in and out of the city of Frederick. And we are really fortunate that we've got leadership in transit that I call solution-oriented. They are constantly looking at ways. If you have an organization and you want to understand more about transit, call up Roman and Jamie. They will be happy to talk to you about transit and listen to your questions and concerns about how they can improve that system. We're working on a dedicated bus lane on the west side of the city of Frederick to improve throughput times in that area, building better shelter opportunities, working with transit to advocate for those spaces. So it's critically important for us to have a transit system that works, and it's critically important for us to do everything that we can to keep that system fare-free. And I'm proud that Councilmember Russell has been having conversations with the county about the recordation tax and potentially ways in which the county's recordation tax can be used to augment transit services in the city of Frederick, because we want the system to stay free and we want it to serve our residents in the best possible ways.
Just jump in real quick on that. One, it's about relationships. You know, at the staff level, the relationship between the city and the county and the Board of Education are pretty solid. And we got to continue that to make sure that the elected officials have that same type of relationship, because if you get into loggerheads at the higher levels, elected officials, pardon me, you just don't get anything done. The other thing that needs to be looked at is our adequate public facilities ordinance. Not to get into the weeds, but after 5 years of testing, the development will go through and doesn't need to meet the school requirement. So maybe that needs to look at it. Maybe a cap needs to be put on so that a school doesn't go free after 5 years of testing.
Anyone else want
Quick shout out to Frederick County Transit. Mike went out the other morning. Visit Frederick gave them their annual Ambassador Award, which they are doing a great job, and it's great that we're able to offer that service for free to all residents.
I think it's, when we talk about this, transit is free. And sometimes there's a stigma about our transit service being for persons who can't afford transportation. But I would suggest all of us as elected officials use transit. Use it. I know I do. At the same time, I think it's important. Joe Atkins mentioned this, is that at the county, they also have 2 representatives who are from the city in districts 3 and 4. So I think it's also important about those relationships, those advocacies, understand about within the framework of their responsibility to city residents as well.
Just real quick, I think we often forget that the city is in the county, that most of the residents of Frederick County live in the city, and so we are, in a lot of ways, one and the same, and I think there's a lot of really good relationships back and forth. So I'm excited about collaborating with them.
All right, thank you all for answering that. And this is our last question. How do you think increased police presence during this current climate, fear of ICE, social inequities, will affect the community morale as a whole? Do you think it's necessary at this time?
I think the Frederick City Police Department has done an excellent job of building relationships all over the city. I'd like to see more patrols in various areas and foot patrols. I like the bike patrols, but I'm comfortable that they're handling everything that we're worried about on a national level in a good way on a local level in the city of Frederick. And I applaud Chief Lando and the rest of the Frederick City Police Department for what they're doing in that regard.
I think one of the first times we were tested in how our police would respond to challenging times was how we responded as a community after the murder of George Floyd. And 9 consecutive nights of protests through downtown Frederick and around downtown Frederick that resulted, if they resulted in any arrests at all, whatever arrests were made for really low-level efforts. There were no significant issues of the community and their interactions with our police department because it's a mindset, it's a philosophy to policing in the city of Frederick. And I appreciate the shout outs to Jason Lando. I'm very proud of that hire and him being in the city of Frederick, but I'm equally proud of the police chiefs that preceded him because it's been a long record dating back to Kim Dine, hired in the Doherty administration, of a mindset about policing in Frederick and how that has to work in partnership with the community. And it is a challenge. I'm not going to mince words here, that when the county's top law enforcement officer has a different philosophy about what those interactions look like, it makes the job of every person wearing a uniform more difficult. Plain and simple.
Yeah, actually, following up on what the mayor just said, the philosophy differences between law enforcement in Frederick City and in Frederick County is very drastic, especially how they approach specific populations. In my district, interactions or concerns about enforcement of immigration, quote unquote, rules is problematic, and it's an issue that causes the population of my district a lot of concern. There is that difference in philosophy between where the county's law enforcement mindset is and where the Frederick City Police Department philosophy is, and that's a positive because the Frederick City's philosophy is not as the same. But I think the police department also has to do a little more to consider that mindset. Because of some of the work that I've done in other outside of this campaign, I hear almost every day about people concerned about law enforcement activity in my neighborhood because, you know, the lights all look the same, the uniforms sometimes look the same, the vehicles sometimes look the same, and I think keeping that in mind, community policing has been a buzzword for decades now, but adding to that better philosophy than the county is a philosophy to have in mind what the impact is, what it means to have different types of uniforms, specific uniforms for units that might look like they're enforcing immigration laws. There's a lot of overlap in some of the vehicles that the sheriff's department and the police department use, not the day-to-day patrol cars. So some of that also needs to be brought into the philosophy of community policing and realize that there is a community in Frederick City that is under a different level of pressure than they have been in the past. So now we have to make adjustments on what community policing means in that community.
Thank you, Cesar, for that. Hi, Mr. Brand, welcome back. I want to give you a chance to answer a couple questions we were just talking about. This most recent one we were talking about was how do you think increased police presence during this current climate, fear of ICE, social inequities will affect the community as a whole, and do you think it's necessary at this time? But we're also talking about the unhoused population along Carroll Creek as well on the local level.
Well, from what little I heard from Cesar, I would agree with him. Community policing, as practiced by Kim Dine, is a good thing. Community policing, as practiced by Jason Lando, continues that tradition and is also a good thing. But I agree with Cesar that we have to take an extra step as it relates to our, especially Hispanic neighbors. But I would also say that with our LGBTQ+ neighbors, we have to take an extra step as well, because the police are viewed as unfriendly, regardless of what the police have or haven't done in order to justify that, the police enter into that room and already there's anxiety and fear about the police as relates to that. So there was more to that question.
Yeah, also in the context of the unhoused population along Carroll Creek. Or...
Yeah, so a couple things there. It's from what I have heard from the studies that the Osherman Foundation and other groups have done, that was a project 5 years ago or so, it's not clear to me that the people who are hanging out in Carroll Creek are unhoused. They may not have anything better to do, but that's not clear to me that they're unhoused. It is also not clear to me, and maybe the data exists, and I apologize for not knowing it, about whether a day shelter would be helpful or of interest to those folks. I think that's certainly something we need to look into. Another issue that was brought up to me is, and now we're back to people who are unhoused, if we provided a housing first solution to those folks, which means a house plus intensive wraparound services, whether or not that would help give them a place to stay that wasn't on a bench along Carroll Creek. I would add, and I share this perspective, that foot patrols, bike patrols, moped patrols along Carroll Creek to help enforce community standards would be a good thing. However, as Chief Dine and Jason Lando have said, just because somebody is sitting at the creek and they're not dressed well or they may not smell the best does not mean that they're criminals and should be locked up. So that's also really important.
So much for that. Maybe, yeah, so those were our final questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think that could be important, especially for the Republicans. Particularly Tom, since he wants to be the head of the city. You as a Republican, seeing how Republicans are demonizing and persecuting immigrants, especially by the head of the party, how would anybody, person of color, feel, or immigrant feel, safe having you in a position of power?
Well, like I say, let me have all of them. There is an R after my name, there's no doubt about it. And I've had a lot of people encourage me that I should run as an independent. I've been a Republican forever. I'm not going to hide who I am. I have very little respect for anybody at a national level or even state level that's wearing that. I think a lot of the things that are happening with their party, with my party, is appalling. And that's all I can say on it. I'm here to work for the people of Frederick, and that's what I intend to do if enough of you decide that I'm worthy of that position. Thank you.
What about the other Republicans?
I already said, fiscal conservative, socially moderate. I'm not going to echo what Tom said, but yeah, I'm a small R, not a big R.
So I think, wasn't one of the rules of this, we're saying local?
Local.
Okay, so, but since you're asking this question, so as a Republican in 1980, I registered as a Republican, so I'm not going to disown that. It's been, 45 years, so I'm a Republican. What I can say about the rhetoric that's going on now, and this question specifically, it's kind of a distraction in a way, because we as leaders, when you go to leadership classes, different leadership classes, you affect what you can, right? And so part of this question now is kind of trying to bring the rhetoric back down to the local level. We can affect change right here in Frederick. We can change the national dialogue that's going on now and temper down the heat by the way we act at the local level. If we keep on going to what's happening at the county level, state level, national level, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to be a leader here and take care of the issues and work with the counterparts at the local level, and people will be able to see how we interact. I'll give you a prime example. In my job, I worked and did my whole career in the most Democrat city in the U.S. And I rose up to the ranks with 100% Democrat city council mayors, and finally to the point where I had to be appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. During those years, I worked with every group you can imagine that were Democrat and never had an issue, ever had an issue. a prime example, one thing I'm proud of, I never bring it up here, I never even thought about it until some of these questions. I started the first women's focus group in the District of Columbia for the fire department. The fire department recognized they had a lot of women in the fire department, but they weren't progressing. So the chief, for whatever reason, and we have 2,500 people in the department, he picked me out of all the people in there. He could have picked somebody that looked like these women in the focus group to lead this group, but he didn't. He picked me. I was able to work with these women, great women, it was like a 3-year program that we put together, and every one of them in the program was successful in being promoted. 2 of them to the highest ranking positions. So I don't want to avoid this question, but I don't want to be this being clouded that we can't work. I think we can work as a group, and we should lead by example by working together, both Republican and Democrats. If we break through and are able to get elected, I'm sure we can work with everybody here. But we need to lead at the local level, and the citizens can see how we get along and show progress within the city.
All right, thank you for that. I have the orange mic now. Yeah, that was, I think we don't have time for any more questions. So I really appreciate all the candidates for coming, the mayors, and yeah, thank you all for coming as well.
Okay, and so Matt Byers again, I just want to make sure that we really thank Frederick Social for opening up this evening. I know many of us have taken advantage of the libations while we've been listening to this, and I'm sure some of the candidates would like to do so as well. Thank you all very much for coming. I just have one final thought from the Forward Party that I'd like to present as an idea. And it's something we've been doing, and I've heard a lot of solutions tonight, and I want to sort of turn that on its head a little bit. So one of the things that we're trying to do is something called prioritizing epic problems. And so we have conversations with people about what their problems are. And so when we sit down and we say, okay, list out all your problems, one of the things that's really cool is that everybody can agree on what the problems are. Nobody agrees on the solutions, but everybody agrees on the problems. And then what you do is you start prioritizing those problems. This problem is the most important, this one's the second most important, this one's the third most important, etc. And then, this is where you guys come in. Then we say, okay, as a community, we have prioritized all our problems. You guys can go solve them. With the caveat that when you solve a problem, you can't make a higher order problem worse. Totally turns the process on its head. So I just throw that out there as an idea. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate all the candidates. Everybody give a big round of applause to the candidates.
Let me close it.
This has been a great turnout, and we really appreciate you, and I'll be around for questions.
Wait, next slide.
Next slide.
Wait, before you guys go, this was great. This was great. You guys had great conversations. So proud of all of you. So grateful that we have leaders like you all in the community. Thank you all for coming as well. What you'll see up here is a QR code. If you're interested in Forward, Frederick Forward, it's about bringing people together, literally what we're doing here. It's not about left or right. It's about moving forward together as a community. One Frederick, one people, one fight, one future. So, all right, let's wrap this thing up. Have some beers and have a good time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Great job.
Pleasure, Michael.
Always. I'll see you twice tomorrow, doubleheader.
Oh my God.
Is that what you do?
Where can we go in between?